Welcome back, guys. We're going to be doing a quick question and answer session here. I posted this up over on Facebook for those guys to get their questions in. So we're just going to go in order, and hopefully we'll get the video done here in not too long. All right, so first question up is what do you think of the AMD 63 versus the Wasser 10? AMD 63 in America means a lot of different things. So sometimes they come in with factory com block Hungarian receivers. Sometimes they come in with factory com block Hungarian barrels. Sometimes they come in with neither. Sometimes they're built well. Sometimes they're built terribly. So there's just really no way to answer that question because it's going to depend on the variant itself. But a Wasser 10 is a great rifle. I have a video on it inspecting them, how to do that. And these days, that inspection process is much less likely because they're being built to better specs and quality control. So great rifles, they tend to have terrible finishes, but even that's getting better. Sometimes their wood's not so good, but the barrels, the receivers, all that stuff, very good quality components, and they're very good rifles if you can get past the looks of them. All right. What has been your favorite build that you enjoy shooting the most? So, favorite build. I don't know that it would be a build per se. I have a Colt M16A4 clone. It started out as a AR-15A4, so the 20-inch version, and then I put basically A4 type furniture on there and like an RCO optic. It's awesome. I love shooting 20-inch ARs. They're probably my favorite, I would say, of guns to just shoot for fun. Really like them. Just the system's so smooth. They're obviously plenty accurate, and the round gets downrange in a hurry too, so that's always good. All right. Daniel asks, so what, with the firearms industry hurting as of late, what companies and accessory companies do you think will rise to the top and which will go by the wayside? I apologize that the geese behind me are going crazy and you guys can hear that. I'm not sure how it comes across on the mic. I can hear it. They're trolling me hard. But anyway, so firearms industries. I don't know because I have no way of knowing what their financial situation looks like at each of these companies. So it's hard to say, but certainly some of them will go out of business. And I think probably the hardest market to compete in will be the $750 to $1,000 AR. It's very competitive. There's a lot of good options in that price point. And I think with the options that are being included in some of those, it makes the margins on them pretty small. So those will probably be the hardest ones because there's always going to be the budget buyers out there. They're going to want, you know, your $500–600 ARs. There's always going to be the guys that want the, you know, BCMs and Daniel Defense and stuff like that are, you know, $1,400 and up. But that middle, I think, is going to be hard to compete in. I think we saw the Olympic folks go out of business, and I think there'll probably be a few more companies like that. Now, accessories generally are doing just fine in this market, with the exception of suppressors. They're all doing very well, so I don't see that being a problem. All right, David asks, would you carry a Canik for personal protection? So the answer to that would be the same as supposed for any gun. I would. I feel the Caniks at this point have sort of proven themselves as a brand to be a quality firearm. That said, with any gun, I would want to put enough rounds through it that I feel comfortable with it. How many rounds that is would always vary. I get that question a lot too. So like, for instance, with a very proven platform, like for instance, like a Smith & Wesson J-frame, it wouldn't take that many rounds for me to feel comfortable with it because they just have such a long track record of working well. Same with like a Glock 26 or something like that. But if it was a new gun, that was new to me anyway, it would take more for me to feel comfortable with it. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem with Caniks. They're good guns. And at this point, I think they've been in the U.S. for years now, and plenty of reviews, plenty of guys on them. If there were you know, widespread problems that would be reported, you would see it out there, and there isn't them. You know, if they had a different name on the side, I think people would put them up a little bit higher than folks tend to do. How often do you lubricate your carry handgun? Do you use them for practice and training? So I have a bunch of different carry guns. Most of them, I have 2 of them. So I tend to train and shoot the ones that aren't the ones that are actually carried, just because I don't want to rotate ammunition all the time and stuff like that. I try to lubricate and clean them at least every 6 months, particularly guns that I carry pocket carry, because those get a lot of lint and stuff like that in them. But yeah, so that's generally how I do that. Next question is, what do I think of IWI's policy not to sell left-handed bolts for the Tavor anymore without requiring the weapon to be sent in? So it's the first I've heard of it. I would imagine they have a lot of people that were messing it up and messing up their carriers, trying to swap them out. So it's probably just the decision based on the fact that, like I said, a lot of people mess their guns up and they're having to deal with that instead. So I don't have a problem with it. I mean, they're a private company, they can do what they want. That said, I know a funny story. I'll have a video probably next week up when they go out available to the public on the whole, the Beretta ARX pistols. And when I was swapping the frames out, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I could see how people would mess this up. There's like a spring that kind of is critical that it go back in a certain way, and you could put it in the wrong way. And then the way the trigger bar interfaces on one side of the frame and not the other. And again, you could put it in the other way. I was thinking, I was like, people are gonna mess this up. So I see why companies would do that. You know, it's very simple if you want to, like, I don't know, swap out like a Glock disconnector. That's a simple process. But certain other things, folks out there don't all have the same level of experience and competency. So I could see why a company would do that for sure. What's my official statement on YouTube's recent bleep, word we don't say on the channel here, with gun channels? So YouTube on the whole has been suffering, for those that don't know, with ads. There's a lot that goes into that. It's not a simple thing. So for instance, if you guys don't know, Google owns YouTube. YouTube works off of Google's AdSense program for advertising, and it's the most powerful ad tool in the world right now. So there's a lot of companies that want to take that down. So I think there's a combination of factors going on. Number one, a lot of companies are promoting the idea that some ads that run on Google and YouTube will run on offensive content, whether they be racist or whatever the case may be. And a lot of companies are leery of that. A lot of those companies that also advertise on Google also own other ad companies and other media companies where they're competitive with YouTube. So you got to keep that in mind as well. And then for those that don't know, with gun channels specifically, a lot of us, myself included, are considered restricted content on YouTube. So what that does, it does a lot of things, unfortunately, but one of them is it puts us in a different ad category. So only certain ads can run on our channels. I'm sure many of you are sick and tired of seeing Ty Lopez and then the holster so quiet, it's like the steps of a Navy SEAL. But there's only certain ads that can run on our channel on YouTube because we're restricted content. So that not only affects how many ads are on our channel, it also affects how much we can make per ad versus other channels. So it's much lower rate. And then, you know, all channels are being affected. We're obviously being affected the worst because of our content. But, you know, we're in the same category as like scantily clad girls dancing in bikinis, like washing cars or whatever, shaking their butts. And YouTube considers the discussion of things that are constitutionally protected to be in that kind of smut category. So it is what it is. It also goes to show that even though we're in relatively friendly times for the Second Amendment right now, politically speaking, there's always a threat from statists. So things like Full 30, other alternative forms of media and stuff like that are always important. We don't want to only be dependent on Full 30 because YouTube is where the masses go, because YouTube is Google search optimized. So for instance, one of the goals of the channel here is to sort of educate new shooters or people who aren't very familiar with certain items onto how to either use them or if they're good or bad or whatever. So like for instance, the rifle next to me right now is this Ruger AR-556. It's the #2 selling rifle in 2016. So I definitely wanted to do a review of it, which I'm doing in the process of it, and just to show new shooters who are generally unfamiliar with the AR system, how it works, what I think of it, and what you get for your money type of thing. So on Full 30, you're generally preaching to the choir, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not anti, I'm very pro Full 30, as you guys can probably guess. But I also want to be on YouTube because YouTube is where you reach the masses. So hopefully they work it all out and don't take our platform away. So. Next question, CJ asks, I would like you to do a review on the CAA Micro Roni or similar version, so carbine conversion for the Glock 17 or 22. Excuse me. I have no interest in that, so it's probably not going to happen. Thanks for the question, though. Next one is, what are my thoughts on President Trump? So we don't really do politics here unless it pertains to the Second Amendment, so we're just going to pass on that one. So long as he either gives us more of our rights back or doesn't infringe further on them, we'll be all right, at least as this channel goes anyway. Best barrel for $300 or under for an AR-15. 16-inch used for plinking home defense, really just all-purpose. So $300 is a great budget. There's no answer to the question because it's impossible to answer because there's so many good barrels. You know, you can go over to Brownhouse and get FN barrels at that price, Daniel Defense barrels at that price. You can go Faxon and get their barrels at that price. You can go to Arrow or Ballistic Advantage and get their barrels at that price. So they're all great. If you don't know a lot about AR-15 barrels, what matters and specs and all that stuff, definitely check out my AR-15 barrel material video where I go into that in detail. My personal opinion, I think that's the best source for that on the internet. I haven't seen anything quite like it, whether in written or video form. So I think that's a good sort of instructional tutorial for folks to check out. Just Google AR-15 barrel material, and it'll bring you right to it. Okay, so I think a lot of people sometimes type on their phones, so their questions aren't exactly coherent. But I think what this guy means is favorite ammo, grain, and caliber to concealed carry, I guess is what he's probably saying. So I carry a few different guns with a few different calibers, and it just depends on what I'm wearing and, you know, where I'm going in scenario and stuff like that. So generally I'm carrying a 9mm. With that, it's almost always 124 grain HSTs. Very few exceptions to that, maybe gold dot. That's it. I just like that. I think there's a very long proven track record there. I think some people will make the argument for 147 grain of those two calibers. I wouldn't argue with that. One of those two is a very proven choice and very solid choice in my opinion. Then I probably carry 9mm 75% of the time-ish. And then sometimes I carry 38 specials, typically Smith & Wesson J-frames. Sometimes well, not yet. I'm debating taking the Ruger LCR into the mix as well. It's a good gun. I've had very good experience with it so far. But I do carry that. When I carry that, I'm carrying the gold dots in that load because I like the bonded load for it. I'm not sure on the weight on that offhand. I've tested them before though. I think here on the channel in jail, and they're a good round overall for, you know, for a snub nose revolver. And then I carry every now and then, very rarely, but I do 380. And when I do, it's actually kind of funny. I think you guys will find this entertaining. My theory on this. So I know a lot of guys will argue to carry full metal jacket to get at least, you know, your good penetration with 380. Can't fault them for that. That makes sense. My thoughts on it is that I carry something with the XTP bullet. The reason for that is the XTP bullet in 380 expands very little. With that, if you actually look at gel tests of it, whether they be Hornady or Fiocchi or whatever, they tend to get penetration somewhere in the 12 to 18 inch range, which is generally considered good. So because it expands so little, which generally in most calibers will be frowned upon, it gets decent penetration numbers, but not so much like it would if it was full metal jacket in a lot of testing. So that's what I carry in 380 is something with the XTP bullet, either Fiocchi or Hornady. So I think that answers the question. I think that's all of it there. Where did you get the Archer or barrel? It's a barrel, for those wondering, that you showed in the pics last week. So I picked that up years ago, and that'll actually be discussed in the video, which should be up next week sometime. So IO doesn't put out good guns that they make. I don't recommend them. We've said that here many times here on the channel. But they do import some decent guns that are made in Poland. The barrel is one of them. That's an excellent firearm. And picked that one up back then when they were actually coming into the country. They're not anymore, so good luck with that. You're going to pay a lot of money for them if you find one. Been a while since you did anything with plate carriers, plates, or ammo. I actually have a plate carrier test coming, so let's stay tuned for that. What's my go-to? So home defense, I think I have some surplus Sappy plates that I picked up a while back. And then, not the ESAP, like the old ones, the black ones, not the green ones. I don't even know what carrier that's in, honestly. I don't know, it sits by my bed. It's a basic carrier, a couple mags on it, and that's it. What about a video on the CZ Ramy 2075? Well, what about it? If I had one, I'd do it, but I don't have one, so no plans for it. But the Ramy definitely looks like a cool gun. I know my friend Such has one, and I plan to visit him in the next couple months. I don't think I've told him that yet, but he has now been put on blast that I do plan on visiting him, so maybe I'll take it out when I go up there for a video. Will you ever do a video on Wyndham weaponry? I guess he means rifles. Yeah, I mean, I probably will eventually. I don't have one. I don't know anyone that has one. I don't know anyone at Wyndham. So, I mean, I don't have any way to get one in. I don't plan on buying one. So, all those factors come together that there's no plans for one. But I would definitely do one. I think they're interesting rifles. I think the story of the company is good. I think they had some problems initially with specs, the components and the specs that they chose with them. But from what I hear, they've gotten much better. And I would definitely do one. I like dissipators, and I know they make a dissipator. I also like 20-inch ARs, like we talked about. I know they make one of those. So I definitely would be up for it, for sure. Have you ever tried or got into reloading? Yes, I absolutely have. I don't do it these days because I have a full-time job, I have a family, and then I have a YouTube channel that's also a full-time job. So I'm really busy, like insanely busy. And I also am lucky enough to have ammo sponsors that can get me most of the ammo that I need, should I need to do so. So thanks again to Freedom Munitions and Minuteman Munitions, as always. They really help a lot of what you guys see on the channel out. The number one expense of this channel is ammo, and they obviously offset that. So we do appreciate both those companies and other companies that will send us stuff from time to time. So Federal every now and then will send us stuff. Gorilla sometimes will send me stuff. Sometimes I buy it because I do like their stuff. And then also Fiocchi from time to time will send us stuff. So appreciate all that. But Minuteman and Freedom are the two big ones here on the channel. What do I think of the Gilboa M43? I don't know what that is, so I don't think anything of it. Have you ever tried, we got that one, what is your, blah, blah, blah. What's your opinion of the Roland Special? That's an entire video. I think it can have its purposes if you have a specialized need for it. I think most folks don't have that, but I'm not against it. Any idea why the Primary Arms R-Grid has disappeared from their website? So I do. I'm very aware of it. I'm 100% aware of the real reason. I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to discuss it at this point. The reason I am aware of it is I was one of the people that had some input on their new reticle. It's going to replace it. And I think it's actually going to end up being a product improvement. I really like the R-Grid. I did a review of it. For those of you who don't know, it was very positive. I do like it a lot, but I actually think the next, it's not a version of it, but the next sort of replacement for that reticle will even be another step in the right direction towards extreme precision, if that makes sense. That's a good one. What's your favorite off-camera moment that you wish you would have captured on camera? I don't know. I've had a few good ones. I had a target break, an action target system break. I captured that on camera, though. That was in the Krebs KV13 video. That's the only time I've ever cursed on the channel as well. It was bleeped out, but it was just such a pure moment of me laughing and saying a curse word that I had to put it in the video. It's bleeped. I try to keep things family friendly. But I don't know. I would say in general, malfunctions. Because a lot of times I don't run the camera when I'm out shooting because it takes too much time to set up every angle and every shot, and I want to just get rounds through the gun sometimes just to get a baseline of performance. So, and a lot of times I'll say like, this gun had one malfunction or this gun had two malfunctions in the first 800 rounds or whatever, and like the fanboys of whatever gun that is, it's funny how fanboyism works on the internet. But we'll say like, oh, you're just full of it. Why don't you show it to us? And like, because I'm not always recording. But yeah, so I guess malfunctions in general. But I don't have a cameraman. There's a one-man show, one-man editor, one-man here. My wife sometimes posts on Facebook on the account, but that's it. Other than that, it's 100% me. And really the only time she posts is, well, I shouldn't say only time. The only time she really posts is when I ask her to, but sometimes she'll get on there. People are saying dumb things and ban them. So that's it. Speaking of, my tolerance for banning has shrunken the longer I do this channel. I definitely ban way more people than I used to. All right, next question. Looking for a gun vise. What's the best available? So we're talking about an actual vise. I don't know. I've never used one. I just use typical bench vices and then use wood blocks or something like that. If you're looking for things to use in conjunction with a gun vise, if that's what the question means, I really like the Magpul Bev block. It's very good for a lot of AR type stuff. Similarly with ARs, Brownells makes this little top upper receiver clamp thing that you guys see in a lot of my videos, and I link to all the time. Very helpful tool, very useful. Both those work well, and if not, just some wood blocks work real well, or some real thick tape or rubber strips. All that stuff works very well with firearms and guns. What's my most valuable firearm? We'll do one more after this, I guess, just to keep the video short. So by far and away, my most valuable firearm is my Barrett M107A1. It's not even close. That gun, it's funny because around the time I bought that gun, like I bought that gun and I sold my Mustang right after, and I bought the gun for more than I sold my car for, which is kind of sick priorities if you think about it. But I bought it pre-election as Hillary insurance, because we all know that 50 cals are evil and shouldn't be in civilian hands. So yeah, I thought that would be a good one to buy because I have plenty of ARs, mags, AKs, all that stuff. So I wasn't worried about that, but I didn't have a good 50. I'm on a wait list for Serbu currently. Geese. I'm on a wait list for Serbu, so I will be getting another 50, but they said the wait was like 9 months or something like that. So yeah. And yeah, definitely the Barrett. More expensive than my old car, so it ain't cheap. And then my last one we'll do, just to wrap the video up here, is from Josh, and it says, are you doing or going to do a budget 308 build based off the arrow, upper and lower? So I'm guessing he's referring to the fact that I have posted a bunch of pictures of the M5E1, I believe it is, upper receiver set from Arrow. And yes, I will do a video on that. That particular setup, I don't know if that's considered budget. You know, it's always hard to say what you guys say budget, because everyone's budget is different, but that's certainly not an expensive setup per se. The geese are coming. I'm trying to hope they don't poop on my head. All right, so yeah, I will be doing a video on that. Actually, I'll probably be filming the last parts of it this week. So, you know, within the next 2 weeks, the video should be live. Should be, knock on wood, inshallah. So yeah, we'll have that up. So it's a great rifle. You always need to be careful when dealing with AR-10 or 308 AR platform, whatever you want to call them, platform rifles. They are finicky animals, and there's a lot more that goes into them and getting them to function properly than there is for AR-15s. So, but yes, I will be doing it. I think that's pretty much it, guys. All right, we're gonna try to wrap the video up here for time's sake and get back. I got 2 more videos to film today and then edit and all that stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you in the next video.